Tom and Ollie's Big Kids Club. Tom and Ollie's Big Kids Club. Tom and Ollie's Big Kids Club. Tom and Ollie's Big Kids Club.
It's all that shit stuff.
Hello and welcome back to Tom and Ollie's Big Kids Club. You are...
I'm Tom.
There we go. Hey, fuck off. You can't go before me. I'm Ollie. He's James.
I wasn't paying attention. I assumed you'd already introduced yourself.
I actually got startled then when he did that. I was like, is my name Tom? Am I James? I don't know. But yeah.
Well, his hands were below frame, so I didn't know where he was pointing.
Well, I was pointing this way.
When you point at the screen, you do realise there's two people on it, don't you?
I realise that now. Yeah.
Anyway, so how are we all both? Are we good?
Yeah, I'm acceptable. Still working, so it's not a holiday that I would hope, but getting paid, so...
What is it you do, James?
I work on the phone line for Metro, so if you need a bus time, then give us a call, and I can tell you when that bus is going to be there.
Nice.
And James has recently become a father, so congratulations.
Congratulations, man. Boy or girl?
Thank you. Girl.
Oh, fantastic.
She's a big fan of Futurama. I've made that happen in the first 18 weeks of life, so I'm pretty happy with that. Working on The Simpsons.
So James, if anybody ever follows James on Instagram, they'll know that he just constantly posts pictures of himself on the toilet or poo related.
So,
I think it's that weird when you say it
what's
like that.
your Instagram, mate?
It's Untamed Aggression.
Untamed Aggression.
Which is his production company, because Jim makes films as well. He's very good.
Nice,
but yeah, he's also made sure that his daughter is already posting poo-related Instagram pictures and Facebook pictures.
I mean, law of averages, if you take a photo of her, there's going to be poo-related at it's going to be poo-related at some point, because it's just all she does.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
So anyway, we've all come here together to talk about... Who are we talking about, Tom?
Dwayne Dibley?
No,
I think what we're talking about, the person we're talking about today, is he's a big influence on my life. And I know he is for yourself, Ollie, and I gather yourself as well, James. It's
Indeed, yeah.
Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
The king of the slacker comedy.
Yeah. In fact, Kevin Smith is how me and James met back in the day. But we'll get to that. So, James, tell us how you got into Kevin Smith movies. What was your introduction?
It was actually, I was, reading film magazines and everything as I'm growing up, so I was aware of the concept of Kevin Smith, but I hadn't actually seen. Yeah, I knew of him as an idea, but I hadn't seen any of his films. And it was my media studies teacher, Mr. Horner, in sixth form, who was like, "You should watch Clerks. I think you'll enjoy it." So I went out and bought Clerks, and he wasn't wrong.
How old were you then? What age?
That was first year of sixth form, so 16.
Okay.
Yeah, so he shouldn't have been recommending 18 videos to me. But my CDT teacher did lend me a copy of Death Race 2000 as well, so
nice.
There was precedent set.
I think that's a running thing, because I used to go to the pub with my science teacher, and that was secondary school. But
hang on a minute.
Yeah. I don't know if it was grooming, to be honest, but there we go.
Have you ever seen The Inbetweeners and there's that creepy teacher that around the boys on the DV trip?
I won't have that said about... I'm not going to say his name, actually, because you'll need to bleep it out. But he was cool, man. Yeah, he was a nice guy. But
Were you making tents with your teachers, Tom?
Making tents in my pants? You can see which way this is going today. But
that's appropriate.
It is appropriate. What was I going to say? So I got into the Kevin Smith stuff. The first film I saw was actually Mallrats. And I don't know how old I would have been. I was still in secondary school, I believe. But I got a copy from a place called Cash Converters in King's Heath. Just loved the front cover, just like the comic book style, that blue, and it's just sort of neon. Ended up buying it, and myself and my friend Dave, we all have that.
That one.
That's the one, man. Yeah. It's not blue, it's like purple and pinky, isn't it?
The British version is blue.
It is. Oh,
Yeah.
there you go. I'm not.
Yeah.
My memory doesn't fail me. But I ended up just watching it that many times. The tape broke because myself and my friend David, who I went to school with, who were I don't know, like probably a real life Beavis and Butthead. We used to sit in my room just filling it with farts, watching films, and that one was one that we watched every day, like for months at a time. And from that got into Clerks. And I'll go into the other films later, but yeah, watched Clerks as well and thought that was just a stroke of genius. And as I've grown up, I've realised what an amazing film that is and how it came about is even more incredible.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I remember it was I think it was summer 2019, and BBC Two had this like teen season, like on late nights at about, I don't know, midnight. And the one night they played Empire Records, which anybody knows me knows I love Empire Records.
Classic.
So I watched that, and I thought, I wish I'd taped that. So I had to go out and buy that. Then the next week, I was like, right, I'm recording whatever film is on the next one because I love the last one. And it happened to be Mallrats. And for some reason, I didn't quite get on with Mallrats at first. I thought, the acting's a bit iffy. But there was something about it, though, that I kept watching it, and I really started to like really warm to it and start to really like it. And I thought, I need to find out more about this filmmaker, and I found out that he did another film called Clerks, so I went out and rented that. And then I found out he did Chasing Amy, so I went out and bought that as well. And so those three films for me, like, I think I watched them all within the space of like 3 days, so they all kind of blur together.
Yeah. It's the original Jersey trilogy, because that's how it was pitched originally. Like, this is the Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy. It's his Jersey trilogy. You can move on now. And then he's done it for another, 4 or 5 films after that. It's an 8-film trilogy.
So what we'll do is, I think the idea is we're going to do 2 podcasts. One's going to focus on his View Askew movies, and then the other one will focus on like his other movies and his other endeavours, I guess. So, well, I guess we should start off with Clerks then, the first one. So, Tom, any thoughts about Clerks?
One of the big things I think is how much that film has inspired people to want to pick up a camera and realise that they can actually do the same thing that Kevin did and make a film. I think that's what I'd say that film has done most. I mean, it's incredible anyway. No, I haven't got anything. Wait there. Let's see if I can. No, it's Spawn. There you go.
Spoilers for another podcast.
Spoilers for another podcast. But yeah, I absolutely love the look of it as well, and obviously it's shot in black and white because he didn't have the money to do it in colour. I might be wrong there, but I think it was something to do with the money side of things. But it's just so quotable as well. I mean, from the old woman going through all the milk and everything. I just love that film, man.
James?
It is definitely a very key influence in filmmaking. Like, there's that documentary on the 10th anniversary DVD and on the Blu-ray of the Snowball Effect, where they talk about the whole journey from dropping out of film school to making it, and that whole process afterwards of it having one terrible screening and just one guy being in there, and he was the one who set the ball rolling and it getting going, and then getting in at Miramax and Harvey Weinstein, which now,
I was wondering who was going to mention his name first.
Yeah, and Kevin Smith is like, Harvey, he's such a great guy, and he was there, and he really made it. I was like, you might want to cut this out. Yeah, it's like you say, it's the aesthetic of it. It's got a real kind of punk type.
It's punk rock, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's got a grit to it, hasn't it? And also the soundtrack to it.
That's called film grain. Tom.
Yeah, it's great. There's actual grit as well. Probably
actual grit. Yeah, but I was talking more about the soundtrack because you've got like bands like, I'm trying to remember who's on there. I know the Jesus Lizard, one of my favourite bands, is on there.
Yeah. Bad Religion.
Yeah.
Girls Against Boys. Alice in Chains.
What a band! Yeah, I mean that whole soundtrack's absolutely killer. Because is it Interscope?
Soul Asylum. I believe so.
I mean Interscope.
I mean that for me, Clerks was that influential. It's the two most influential films for me was Evil Dead 2 and Clerks. Clerks was the first time I realised, oh shit, I can actually make a film with my own camera and my friends, and get it out there. I mean, that's never happened yet, but I'm still trying.
Well, you've made the films. It's getting them out there. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But then the soundtrack as well. Like I think something happened to me in 1999. That's when I discovered rock music, and that album's like really influential to me in terms of like what bands I listened to, because I just looked at that soundtrack and was like, Alice in Chains, right, I'm going to buy an album by them. Bad Religion, right, I'm going to get some albums by them.
Yeah.
And it just really, like, I was like, I am a rocker now. I am a filmmaker now. And it kind of like set me on my path of where I was going to go for the rest of my life. It was like, it's just such an important time in my life that I always look back fondly of like 1999, the time when I discovered Kevin Smith films and rock music, and they all kind of go hand to hand.
And I think personally for me as well, it was nice to see people on film pretty much doing nothing, like we were. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what could you do at that age in 1999? I mean, how old would you have been? You would have been...
I was 15, 16.
15, 16, so I'm about 13, 14. So all you can do is hang outside shops or go to the party. It's just... Yeah.
That's what we did.
Yeah, it's what you did, man. And that I'd completely reiterate that point, that soundtrack really got me into pretty much everything I'm still into today, man.
I mean, my first film was called Past Tense, and even though it was shot on a Hi8 digital camcorder, I purposely turned the settings to black and white to make it black and white. And it's just about two friends hanging out. It's pretty much Clerks minus the convenience store. It's even got weed dealers and all that kind of stuff, even though I probably hadn't smoked weed at that point. But in my head, like, I might have to try and find it and put a clip in here just to show how bad it is. But
I wrote a Clerks ripoff, but I never got around to shooting it. It started off like two guys hanging out and various weird customers coming in, but then it turns into Assault on Precinct 13 at the end.
Oh, nice!
Some gang member comes in trying to get served, they get turfed out, and the gang comes back and lays siege to the shop.
Nice.
The original ending of Clerks wasn't that Dante gets shot in the head.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that one, Tom?
What's that? Sorry, mate.
There's like a deleted scene at the end of Clerks where Dante gets shot in the head.
Yes, I have seen that. Yeah. In fact, did they show that? Sorry, this is probably skipping a thing because you want to bring it up later. What was the film that we went to go and see where it was fan made and it was actually about the making of Clerks?
So this I was going to say this. So the making of Clerks is so well documented that there's no point us going into it. I mean, it was made for like $27,000.
Yeah.
It was shot in a convenience store. They shot at night. They used their friends and local amateur actors in it. Blah, 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 blah. James already said how it got bought and all that. But there's a really good documentary that James also mentioned called The Snowball Effect. You can watch it on YouTube. It's like about 90 minutes, and it's a really heartfelt, really well-made documentary about all of Kevin Smith and his friends and how they made Clerks. So then these Scottish guys decided to make their own like dramatization version of it, and I really can't remember what it's called. Do you remember what it's called, James?
Shooting Clerks.
Nice! I was going to Wikipedia it.
I don't think it's actually technically come out properly yet.
I haven't seen it anywhere.
But me and Tom saw a screening of it in Birmingham about a year and a half ago?
It's got to be a year and a half ago, man. Yeah.
And it was screened with Clerks. I mean, that was probably the main reason we went, because we got to watch Clerks. But I think... was Clerks on first, and then it was the documentary?
They were originally going to do the... No, they did the documentary first, didn't they?
Not documentary, but the dramatisation version.
I can't remember, but they switched it at the very last moment, didn't they? Do you remember?
Yeah.
I can't remember which one it was, but yeah. What are you going to give your views on this film?
I mean, to be very kind, I know what it's like to make a film and how hard it is.
Yeah.
But just watch The Snowball Effect, because it's better acted and it's shot. It looks a lot better. But they went to a lot of effort. They went to LA to film, allegedly. They went all to Florida to film. Yet they couldn't film in a real convenience store. It's a green screen backdrop of a convenience store behind them as they're shooting Clerks.
I mean, my thing was...
Like, come on, guys.
My thing that I took away from watching that film, though, was... If you're going to be inspired by something, be inspired by it, but make your own thing. Yeah. I just feel like they had all the talent there to go and use that, not necessarily the blueprint, but go and use that inspiration and go and make something of your own, man. But
I think I understand why they did it though, because it's like it's already got a brand recognition, and it's
totally
going to have an audience, even if it's not a massive audience. It's still going to get eyes on it. Whereas
it's like all these zombie movies calling themselves Night of the Living Dead because they can, because it's a public domain title. So they just think, we'll call it Night of the Living Dead 3D, even though it's not anything to do with that franchise. But fuck it, we can, and somebody's going to put that on DVD, and we'll get a cut of it.
But, I mean, I think Kevin likes the fact that these guys are making films about them, because they made several shorts. Like they made one about Jason Mewes' heroin addiction and how he tried to wean off heroin and got addicted to buying like Star Wars toys, and like they were chasing this like Greedo figure that was like a chase action figure, and like I think it's called Chasing Greedo or something like that. But then they're all like Kevin Smith approved. So so I keep calling it a documentary, but this like dramatization.
Docudrama.
Like Kevin's in it at the end, isn't he? He's like one of the critics at the screening of Cannes, who's watching a screening of Clerks at Cannes, and he's asking a question at the Q&A at the end, which is what
he loves it though, doesn't he? No, man. He's like his biggest fan, and I love that about him. Like,
I think every year there's at least one look back at Clerks podcast on his.
Oh, totally, man. I think he deserves to be able to do that, and all the shit that he's gone through recently, man. Fucking power to him. Yeah.
All right. Favorite character to both of you from Clerks, then?
Oh, it's definitely not Dante. I know that. Go on, I'll let you go first, James.
I was thinking about this earlier, and I think my favourite character is the little girl who buys cigarettes. Yeah, just the look on her face when she hands over the money. And
it's genius.
She takes it. It's just that it kills me every time. Just that shot of her peering over the counter.
My favourite is Walter Flanagan in every role.
I think I'm going to have to go Randall, man. And I was going to try and
say... he's a great character, Randall.
I was going to say something else, but that was the character I absolutely loved as a kid. He says everything that you want to say.
Well, he's based on... who's he based on, James?
Brian Johnson.
Brian Johnson, yeah. And apparently, like, they fell out during the making of the film. That's why Brian Johnson's not actually in the film. Oh, so Brian Johnson and Walt Flanagan, they do Tell 'em Steve Dave podcast. They're the two guys, the two comic book shop owners in the other films.
Ah, right, yeah. Okay.
And then Walter Flanagan's in like a million parts in Clerks. Like, they just put a wig on him and stuff like that, or cover his hair in talcum powder and stuff like that. All right. So what are your favourite scenes then in Clerks then?
I'm going to go for probably playing hockey on the roof. I just love that. Like, he's not meant to be there, he's on the top. It's just a memorable one to me. And I'm trying to remember the song that's playing, because I love it for that song.
Which song is that?
I can't remember.
It's going to do
not Leaders and Followers.
No, that's when they're running out of the funeral home, Leaders and Followers.
Is it the Soul Asylum song at all?
I don't
No, it's a more punk one. It's like, that's going to do my head in.
Because there is a music video, isn't there? It's actually in colour.
Yeah,
that is
the
hockey scene.
That is for the Soul Asylum one, but that's a whole new thing. It's not from the film.
Okay. What else? What's your favourite scene then, James?
I think Scott Mosier's cameo, where he's Willem, the dopey man-child. He's like, cool, man. Whoa, Veronica, what are you doing now? And his whole performance, that keeps cutting back to him throughout the film, where he walks into the magazine stand on the way out, and then later on he's trying to feed a sandwich to Silent Bob and just being ignored. And then Scott Mosier shouts at himself when they're up on the rooftop. He's playing that jackass customer, and Willem shouts from below, "You open!" And he turns around and shouts at himself. And then he just fucking scappers. He just runs away at full pelt. It's just... That amused me.
My favourite scene is when Jay and Silent Bob dance. No, it's not that scene. What's my favourite scene? I like anything with Jay and Silent Bob in it, I think they're perfect in this film. And I think as we get on with the films, they kind of lose that edge, and it's a bit sad. And I love them in this first film. But what's my favourite scene? I can't think.
Just while you were thinking, that was the Jesus Lizard who were playing on the hockey scene.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, which is my favourite band, so that would probably be why.
I don't know. For some reason, the intro scene always got me. I think in any film that I made as a youngster, I always ripped off that opening scene, the montage, like where he's getting up, putting on his clothes, drinking the milkshake, getting in the car. So, like any film I did had like the suiting up, getting ready to go out.
That's surely a rip, not a rip, but like that's that scene. Like Kevin's been it has been inspired by another film, and I'm trying to remember what it is, and it's another sort of teenage slacker comedy. Or am I talking shit there?
No, probably. I mean, a lot of the things he rips off from like Spike Lee. I think like in is it like Do the Right Thing? And no, is it that one?
Okay.
And like
I know,
Slacker.
Slacker is the big one that he always cites as that's his Clerks, his one that he watched and said, I can make a movie apparently based on this. If this counts, then I can do it.
Right. Okay. So then, is it like a year later or 2 years later? Mallrats came out.
Yeah, 95, so it would have been a year after. Yeah.
So, James, thoughts on Mallrats?
It's, I mean, which cut are we talking about? Is it the theatrical version or the extended?
Either. Which version's on that?
That's both, and they're both on the same side of the disc, which is better than the DVD version.
Has it got the extras on there as well?
Yeah. Everything that's on the DVD.
So do you know there's a director's cut?
I had no idea, to be honest. I think I've just got like a really shit DVD of it, so it's not got any extras or anything. And before that, it was the VHS.
To be honest, back in the day, like the Kevin Smith DVDs were the shit, and that's because they were rammed full of extras. So you'd always get like a making of or a look back, and the best was the commentary. So the commentary tracks were like podcast before podcasts. And
I've watched the Mallrats commentary a lot more than I watched the film.
That's fantastic, man.
So go on then, James. Thoughts on Mallrats?
Yeah, I mean, it's the theatrical version is very strange because half of it's missing and a lot of it is dubbed to make up for its missing. And once you know that, it's hard to watch it in the same way again because everything that's changed just leaps out at you. But it's a lot cartoonier than Clerks. It's a studio movie, so it doesn't quite have the same grit. Even though the language is just as salty, it still feels a lot slicker. And it's a lot of people hated it when it came out, and you can understand why. But it's still a Kevin Smith movie. It's still got that. His personality through his heart, if you will.
I personally think it's one of his top movies, but might just be me. I think that's.
But do you think that's nostalgia talking though?
No, I know. Oh God, who plays the main character in it? Who's got the girl? And they're gonna get
Jason Lee.
No,
Jason
no,
Lee,
not Jason Lee. He's the worst actor.
London.
Like
the lesser London.
Is it London? Yeah, his acting in it. That was the only thing that pretty much nearly ruins it for me.
Yeah, he is really bad.
Like ridiculously bad.
Apparently, he was stoned throughout the whole shooting.
You can fucking tell.
He does have one of my favourite lines in it, though, just for its sheer, terrible reading of it. After Jason Lee gets whacked in the face by that steel beam when they're walking along. And he's like, what the hell's going on here? And Jeremy London just looks up and goes, it looks like a stage is being erected.
Yeah,
it's just so weird and awkward.
Hasn't he got a twin brother or a brother that looks
I think he was in Slacker or Dazed and Confused, one of the Linklater films.
He was in Dazed and Confused.
Do you think it's like...
Because on the commentary, they refer to Jeremy as the lesser London.
Because it's the same producer, isn't it, Jim Jacks?
Yeah.
I was going to say it's a bit like Twins, where the Arnold Schwarzenegger character's got all the good genes. And, yeah. But Jason Lee, you get an introduction to... I think this was his first role as well, wasn't it, Jason Lee?
Yeah,
definitely his first.
As Brody.
I think everybody wanted to be Brody though.
Oh, I was.
His comic collection, the way he dressed, the way
I wanted to even play that ice hockey game, man.
The Sega one.
Yeah, I never managed to get a copy of that, but I just wanted it. I think, everybody did want to be him, didn't they? And I actually had that brown sort of, what jacket is it he's got? Like, not a leather, but that brown jacket.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I'm sure I've got a photo somewhere where I'm dressed up as Brody somewhere, so we can put that in.
Like, because did you used to skate, Tom?
Wait there. Used to? Still try.
So, I just didn't know if you were aware of Jason Lee as a skateboarder.
Oh, God, yeah, man. Yeah, he's
same.
fucking shredded.
Yeah, so, my skateboard's in the boot of my car. It hasn't been out of there for a while, though.
Do you know what they're really good for? If you need to move equipment when you're filming. Like, if you don't use them to skate, but actually use them as like a dolly, they're quite good.
I don't skate, but I have considered getting a skateboard for that purpose.
They're really good for it, man.
It's cheaper than buying a fucking track.
So, go on then, Ol. Like, would you say this is one of your favourite movies, or...?
I wouldn't say it's one of my favourite. It's just one of those films I've got a really big soft spot for, and I can just... It's like, if I ever feel a bit shit, or, whatever, you just stick on Mallrats, and you feel a little bit better after you've watched it. It's like a comfort film, do you know what I mean? It's just like...
Yeah.
Whereas, for me, Clerks was inspiring. And I'm not saying Clerks is the best film ever, but for me, it just really... said a lot to me, but Mallrats is just comfort. It's just comfort films for me. It's like a comfort film, just like a blanket that I can cover myself in and just feel good for a little while.
I mean, the soundtrack on this one as well. Is it Suzanne Weezer at the end?
Weezer, yeah.
Oh man, that ending, because they walk off into the sunset, don't they, at the end of this
with the orangutan. And also, I was going to say.
Nice. Have you got the... Is that the soundtrack there?
It is. It's got Magic Eye background on it.
Oh,
is it a sailboat?
It's a schooner.
It's a sailboat.
I've lost the ability to do Magic Eyes now.
I had to do a Magic Eye. I'd have to put it right to my nose like that. I would slowly put it away. But, because Willem is meant to be the same character as Scott Mosier in Clerks, isn't it?
Mm.
And then Jay and Silent Bob are no longer weed dealers, and they're just kind of mischief makers.
Yeah, I think that's where they started going a bit like, I don't know, family friendly, Jay and Silent Bob, didn't they?
Well, he does pull out a billion things out of his trench coat, doesn't he, at one point?
See, I do like that because he's got the bat belt. Or
it is funny.
Yeah.
Like, we'll get to it later on, but I prefer this Jay and Silent Bob to the Jay and Silent Bob in, say, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. They're really fucking irritating.
Yeah. Sorry.
But, you've got the nice Stan the Man Lee cameo in this as well.
Yes.
And
did you see recently that Kevin actually put up the, I don't know if it's the call sheet from that day. I think it was like a couple of days ago, wasn't it?
Oh, nice.
So he found out the time and everything. I thought that was really cool, man. Obviously, he's
apparently he had to read all his dialogue off like cue cards because he couldn't remember.
Well, the I don't know what the name of the person, the assistant or whoever was helping him shoot that day, said to him, well, you know that Stan's quite an old man and you need to look after him. And he was 70 at that point. And yeah, amazing to see how many cameos he had later on.
Well, yeah, his last cameo was Captain Marvel, wasn't it? And then one of his last, where he's preparing for his role.
I think that's fantastic, man.
Yeah,
so cool.
To be fair, if I was Kevin Smith and I saw that, I'd be like, what?
I think he did. I think he posted like a 45-minute YouTube video of him crying about it.
He's always bloody crying.
5 podcasts about it as well.
He's always crying, and I think it might be because he's always stoned as well. You know how emotional.
Probably.
Yeah, I'm willing to believe that.
So, right, who's your favourite character in Mallrats then, Tom?
You know it's going to be Brody, isn't it, man?
Yeah.
No, it just has to be.
James?
I think Brody's a strong contender, although I do like Ben Affleck's performance.
Oh, I forgot Ben Affleck was in this.
Yeah.
Fashionable male.
Yeah. Because it's one of the line that working in customer service for so long, the line that always sticks in my head is, "I thought the customer was always right. The customer's always an asshole."
That's right, man.
I just thought about that every day when I worked at Staples.
Like, the ending of this film's a bit of a dud, I think, though. Well, I don't know. I do like the game show, but it just feels a bit weird.
I love the fact that they bring Dante back as one of the contestants, and he's just a massive.
Well, it's not Dante, is it?
Well, sorry,
Gil.
Yeah,
it's his cousin,
Gil Hicks.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I think he's actually quite good as that kind of.
I think he worked well in that role that time.
Smarmy character.
I was going to say as well. I forgot to say, if I was going to say my teenage favourite character, it would have been Joey Lauren Adams' character.
Oh, Gwen.
Yeah.
The one who, why? Because she gets her tits out.
Yeah, exactly.
not the fortune teller with the 3 nipples.
No, Haggard. Sorry. You can cut that out.
I'm not cutting it out. I don't cut these. No, my favourite has to be Brody as well. It's a 3 for 3. He's the best character. What do you think of the female characters? Because like the female characters in Clerks didn't seem to get too much to do. They just kind of pop in and out just to kind of appease the men, I think, now and again.
Yeah, well, I think it's very.
And they're kind of a similar, I guess, in this, really, aren't they? They've probably got a bit more agency in this.
I mean, I think you can forgive him when we come later on in his career, and you've got like Chasing Amy, and I think he's fleshed out the female character a lot more in that.
Yeah.
But I think this one is a bit of an MTV characterization of the opposite sex.
Well, I guess it's also a young man just writing about like his wants and desires or how he views relationships at that time as well. Because I mean, how old was he when he did Mallrats? He was probably like what, 23? 23, 24?
Yeah, 24, 20, yeah, somewhere in that vicinity.
That's nuts.
I'll tell you what I do like in Mallrats, though. I do like Svenning, which is...
oh, yeah.
What's his
Rooker.
name? Yeah.
Michael Rooker.
Michael Rooker.
Oh, is that the dad?
Yeah,
oh man, that's if you're going to ask me my favourite scene, it's when he's licking his fingers after he's just
the really tight close.
So yeah, good. in the director's cut, Tom, you actually find out why he really hates Brody.
Oh, okay.
Or is it No, not Brody. TS, because TS for some reason. No, what is it, James? You have to remind me.
It's a governor's ball that. I don't know who's throwing it, but the governor is there and Svenning is there trying to get funding for his TV show or his channel or something.
That's it.
And TS is there dressed as a Civil War soldier for some reason.
And he's got a
huge
think is a replica
musket.
gun.
Yeah. Right. Oh, I might have seen
loaded.
this. No, carry on.
They're probably on YouTube.
Yeah, I might have seen it on YouTube. I haven't got the extended thing. So he's got a replica gun.
And it gets caught in Claire Forlani's hair. I forget her character's name. And it knocks it on the side of the wall and it goes off. There's a gunshot. Everybody panics and jumps on the governor. The ball is ruined and Svenning doesn't get his money. And the whole night is off. And that's why he hates TS, because he ruined his chances of getting this money from the governor.
Right, okay.
So all references to that scene had to be dubbed over later in the film. So there's like every other line of dialogue is dubbed over with something else.
Well, there's like a bit
governor's ball or something.
There's like a
that.
bit in the car park where I think TS or Brody punches someone in the face.
Yes.
Like,
what's it?
That's like referencing the original dialogue.
The original line is, "Did you take a shot at the governor?" or something like that. Or "Didn't I see you on 60 Minutes" or something? And TS turns and punches him. And then they dubbed it to something stupid like, "Hey, I heard you broke up with Brandy Svenning."
Yes. Okay. That makes a lot of sense, and that does actually stick out in my head as like a line I remember. That's nuts.
You can kind of tell why it's cut out because it does play it's very awkward, I thought. But
yeah.
I was going to say, was it? Was it quality, or was it just running time, or it didn't work?
I think a bit of both.
Yeah, I remember him saying at one point that they had a preview and there was not one laugh in the first 20 minutes of the film.
Yeah, so they're like, get rid of that.
Yeah, and then like it's called Mallrats, and they don't actually get to the mall until like minute 35 in that cut. So they cut all that opening off, so they're at the mall in like the first 10 minutes of the film now.
Right. Okay.
All right. Okay. So Do you have a favourite scene?
I'm sticking with licking his fingers, man. That just grossed me out so bad. And also the classic, the eye picture. There's loads in this, but I'm going to stick with my licking the fingers.
I like the game show scene because it's given me one of the lines that I use pretty much every day in life, which is "Do it, Doug."
Do it, Doug. Well,
I use that every possible opportunity.
I'm trying to think what my favourite scene is. I do like the scene where Jay and Silent Bob are being chased by LaFours.
He's run through the
grapple gun and stuff.
Thought of another one for you. When he's looking at the comic books and what does he say? And they've not got like backing card in. He calls them a bunch of savages or a Philistine or something. I love that. I thought that was great because it just reminded me of going into nostalgia in Birmingham and just like if you've got fingerprints on them, they go fucking ballistic. But anyway, sorry, I'll go for it, man.
I'm just trying to think what my favourite scenes are. I like the bit after they've Brandy and is it not Brandy? What's Shannon Doherty's character in it? Doherty's character. Anyway, after they've had sex and like Brody's doing his fake.
Yeah, I forgot. No one's mentioned Ben Affleck's in this.
No, James did. Yeah,
did
fashionable
you?
Male.
Oh, of course you did. Yeah.
So speaking of Ben Affleck.
I'm here as well, you know.
The lead character in.
See, I was trying to segue
it. So you're like, what was this? 2 years after Mallrats, I guess.
97, I think.
So I think Kevin Smith got a picture deal after Clerks, then with Miramax.
I don't know because Mallrats was Universal.
Yeah, I know Mallrats was Universal, but I think this came under the Miramax or. Like deal, and he also.
I don't think it was under a deal because they had to go begging for the money for it.
Well, no, I think they'd get the money if they wanted to make it the way that the Weinsteins wanted to make it. So if they made it,
if they'd have made it the way the Weinsteins wanted to make it, God knows what we would have got.
Oh, would Harvey Weinstein play Ben Affleck's character? Anyway, but he also got a deal where. Somehow he got funding from Miramax to make films to fund his friends' films, didn't he?
Yeah.
So you've got them behind you, haven't you?
Yeah, they were all made at around the same time. Although they all came out like 4 years apart.
So I don't know if you've ever seen any of these, Tom.
What are these?
So, I think, are they classed as View Askew productions?
They are.
Yeah.
So, I think the first one that came out was Drawing Flies.
Never seen it.
Which is directed by Matt Gissing and Malcolm Ingram, who ran Film Threat magazine at the time.
It's been a while since I've seen that, but I think they go and try and find Bigfoot or something.
Yeah, it's been a while since I watched it. I was going to rewatch it in preparation for this, but then I just.
I'm really excited. Should I be excited or is it terrible?
If I remember, it's shot in black and white on 16mm. I think.
It's got the look of Clerks, and I think Brian Johnson says that they just pretty much airlifted the cast of Mallrats to Canada to film this film afterwards, because it's got Jason Lee, Jason Mewes, Renee Humphrey, who is
she's Trish in
Trish in Mallrats,
has sex. The underage girl who has sex with overage men.
And Scott Mosier in it as well as
is that a boner
member of a cult who likes to wear nappies.
Sorry,
I'll lend it you, Tom. You can watch
looked like he was full on like pitching a tent then when you showed me that because.
And then what was the other one? So we've got the next one is
there's A Better Place, which is directed by Vincent Pereira, who was Kevin's co-worker at the Quick Stop.
He was the one who introduced him to Slacker,
That's the idea of filmmaking. Indie.
Do you know what? You're blowing my mind here because I never knew any of these existed.
Well, this isn't a comedy. This is like a coming of age drama about this really kind of psychologically damaged kid.
Well, it focuses on this one kid who's a bit timid, but he befriends this other kid who's a bit unhinged.
Yeah.
Right.
And Jason Lee's in it as well as like one of the character's stepdads, I think.
Yeah.
Youngest stepdad ever in a film, I think.
and it's Brian Lynch is in it as well, who's another writer that hangs around in that group, and Kevin Smith also produced a film called Big Helium Dog that Brian Lynch directed,
which has never come out.
Never come out on home media. It used to play at Vulgathon, Kevin Smith's film festival, when they used to have that. That would be show everyone, but it still hasn't come out on video, which is a shame because Brian Lynch is a very funny guy.
It's a sketch show kind of film, isn't it? A bit like a Monty Python kind of thing.
Yeah.
But Brian Lynch, he's actually kind of made a name for himself because he's like written all the Secret Life of Pets and maybe the Minions films and stuff like that.
Yeah, he wrote Minion spin-off and Hop, the Easter Bunny movie with Russell Brand, and Puss in Boots as well. He seems to be specialising in animation.
And then there's the other one, which is Volga, which is, the clown at the beginning of Clerks, the little animation.
Yeah.
So this is the clown from... What's he getting? Oh, he got the soundtrack. So this is...
He's got both.
This is directed by Brian
Johnson.
Brian Johnson. And it's about the clown that kind of is wearing the garters and stuff like that at the beginning of Clerks.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, this gets a lot of shit.
I actually liked it.
I really like it, but a lot of people do not like it and do not like it.
I think you'll like it, Tom. I was
going to say, would you mind listing these for me? Because I'm going to do. I'm going to watch these before. Are we doing next week? We're going to do another pod on the other movies.
Yeah, sure.
If I can get a list of those, I'll watch them.
The press quotes on the back of the DVD are an ugly, revolting movie, the San Francisco Chronicle. And Dave Kerr of the New York Times says, Volga is truly and thankfully a one-of-a-kind work.
So
those are the quotes that they put on the DVD.
See, I'm a massive, and sorry to go on to a different movie before, but I'm a massive fan of Tusk. I fucking adore that movie. So if it's as bad as that, I'm in.
It's got Brian O'Halloran as Dante from Clerks. He plays the clown,
right?
And if I remember, does he get raped in it?
Yeah, he's a terrible kids party clown who isn't making any money off it, and he somehow gets the idea to perform at adult parties. So I don't know what he'd be doing at these parties, but he's wearing clown makeup and garters. Yeah, and he turns up to his first one, and then just gets. Brian Johnson said his inspiration was Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, like the fucked up family.
I love that
in
film.
Texas Chainsaw 2.
It's great.
So the interplay between them, of them all just constantly bickering at each other, like, Leatherface, you dent my plate! That kind of stuff. So that's where the family, that's what they're inspired by. And they just take him in and torture him and rape him. And that's the thing that seems to get a lot of people, like, they seem to come away thinking, oh, he's raped for 20 minutes straight, and it's just ongoing, and it's not. It's like a 30-second scene of him dumped on a bed. The guy says, I'm going to make hate to you. And then he screams, and then it cuts to a fantasy sequence.
Right.
I think Kevin Smith plays his agent in it or something like that.
He's a producer or something, and he's wearing this very flamboyant sweatshirt over the shoulders type number going on.
And does he speak in...
I think he's shaved as well.
I know it's going to sound stupid, but obviously he doesn't... I know he's not playing Silent Bob, but he speaks in this role as well. Because I don't remember hearing Kevin Smith speak until I saw... Well,
no,
he speaks at the end of the films, doesn't he? Yeah.
So anyway, Clerks there. I mean, no, I'll do that again. Chasing Amy.
Nice.
Came out, 1997?
Yes.
So James, give us your thoughts on Chasing Amy.
Chasing Amy for a long time was my favourite of his films. It's gone back to that indie roots of the first of Clerks. It's low budget. It's got the grit of that independent stuff, but it's got a lot more heart. I mean, people always talk about the realistic dialogue in Clerks, but they were talking in a very flamboyant style. It's not realistic. People don't talk like that conversationally. It feels very written.
Well, it's an author writer's kind of idealized way of this, but I think the acting is better in Chasing Amy, so the level goes up. So I think even though they take in this verbose dialogue,
verbose is the word I was looking for.
They can kind of
I didn't have
make
the
it sound a bit more. It's like how Harrison Ford can make George Lucas's really weird dialogue work, or Dan Aykroyd can make his own techno jargon dialogue work in Ghostbusters. It's kind of like that. Do you know what I mean? Like they can kind of make it
Jason Lee and Ben Affleck are definitely the peak guys to do that.
And I think doing Mallrats definitely helped with Jason Lee in terms of being able to... Because I don't think he's brilliant in Mallrats, but I think he nails it in Chasing Amy in that style. What about you, Tom?
What do I think about it generally? Sorry, because you're cutting out quite a bit on my headphones at the moment.
Yeah. What do you think about it?
For me, it's the one I've watched the least. It was I heard it was one of your favourites, and I can. There's a few characters in it that stick in my mind, but I've sort of brushed past it whenever I go through like a Kevin Smith a-thon. Like I just go for the Clerks, the Mallrats, and Chasing Amy I don't watch as much, so I'm not that clued up on it, to be honest.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say I've got a love-hate relationship with this film. I still like it a lot, but I think for me it peters out a bit on the second half. I think because it's less centered on the friendship and more on the romance of Joey Lauren Adams and Ben Affleck. I just miss that dynamic of Ben Affleck and Jason Lee, and they're comic book illustrators and writers, and I really like seeing that being visualized. And then don't get me wrong, I don't mind the other half when it goes a bit more dramatic and they have that big huge speech in the rain and stuff like that. And but I think in terms of visuals, I think it's one of his best looking films. Like I find Mallrats a bit garish, like some of the backgrounds and stuff look a bit kind of, I don't know, not very well thought out. It's a bit cheesy, but then again, they're filming a mall, which is a bit cheesy in itself. But I think
they do take the piss out of him on the commentary when the scene when after they've run away from LaFour's and they stop by a brick wall, and the whole scene just plays out in front of a brick wall. Like they could wow, that's $6 million was well spent.
Like it feels a bit more open in Chasing Amy, like they're in parks and things like that. There's a bit of depth to the imagery and stuff like that, and I think it just looks cooler. But, and like they got Mike Allred, who did Madman, to do all the artwork and stuff, which was cool.
I was just reading here. Sorry, I just wanted to do
some facts.
A callback to our Jaws episode.
I know.
Yes, yeah.
So, scene originally written for Mallrats. Several principal characters share memories of sexual escapades gone awry, aka in the way that it's done in Jaws when they're talking about their wounds. But yeah, I didn't realise that.
And if you look, he even made the set, I think, try to look like it's got like...
Yeah, it's got these kind of weird blue kind of artwork things up that look like the windows on the Orca.
Oh, nuts.
Yeah. But that's a good scene though, Tom, actually. It's good you brought that up. Because it's really well done. It's got those like black and white vignettes kind of that pop in and out. That's good.
Also, do you want to hear some more facts?
Go on then.
We
need a fact theme tune.
Yeah. Diddly-doo. There you go. In Japan, the screenplay of Chasing Amy was adapted into a novel by Kenichi Gucci. Sorry for completely bastardising your name there if you watch this. And published by Aomi Publishing. It's half novel and half manga. I'll be interested to see that.
I think I've actually heard about that, but I've totally forgot that exists. But
yeah,
interesting.
I think I might have seen it once in, I don't know if it was in Forbidden Planet or something, but I feel like I have had a flick through that to see what it was like.
Well, apparently, like when Smith actually came to read it, he was quite shocked because the scene that we were talking about, where it's the Jaws sexcapades, it's actually like properly gone into in the manga, so you can imagine that. Probably use tentacles and all sorts.
I've got the first few books in the adaptation of Battle Royale as a manga, and there's a lot more penetration shots than I was expecting.
And we're not talking bullets. The original here, book.
No, I've read the book and I've seen the film, and they embellish the story a lot for the manga.
Do you have to read that one back?
Yeah, it's like printed backwards.
I've got an embarrassing story related to Chasing Amy.
Did you get caught?
So you know how?
Caught? No. Right, carry on.
So you know how Ben Affleck draws the comic book at the end, like after he's broken up with Alyssa.
Yes, Oliver.
So my first girlfriend, when we broke up, I drew a comic book about our relationship, and I gave it to her, and she was like, "What's this? This is not the creepiest thing in the world I've ever seen." It was not good. It was not good.
See, normally people use the speech he gives in the car for help in their
I
romantic
can't remember
relationships.
dialogue. I can't even remember flipping Keith David's name or William Sadler's name from Ghost. No, fuck no, from Bill and Ted.
William Sadler.
Yes, William Sadler, not William Atherton. William Sadler.
But yeah, you went another way with it.
Yeah. Wasn't a good move. I don't advise it.
I mean, I don't think that speech gets a lot of play either. I don't think that panned out for a lot of people.
Well, I think it helps if you look a lot like Ben Affleck as well, if you can,
Couldn't hurt.
Yeah.
I was going to say, this film actually got a few awards as well.
Didn't I think he won Best Screenplay at the Independent Spirit Awards, and I think
You
maybe...
are correct.
And didn't Jason Lee win Best Actor or something?
Let's have a look. Golden Globe Awards. So Best Actress.
I feel like Joey Lauren Adams won something.
She was definitely nominated.
She was nominated, yeah. So Best.
It's like the Snowball Effect. There's a wicked documentary on here, and it's called Tracing Amy. And that's really good. You actually watched it of mine, didn't you?
Yeah. What were
Eating
what were
cold
doing Supernatural?
corned beef hash that I didn't heat up in the oven properly. But yeah, no, that's a really good documentary. I think that's on YouTube. Check that out, Tom. It's well worth a watch.
Oh, nice. I'm sorry, just looking at the awards. They were nominated by the MTV Movie Awards for the Best Kiss with Joey Lauren Adams and Carmen Llewellyn.
Oh, so that Carmen Llewellyn, I think, was Jason Lee's
wife
wife at the time.
Oh, nuts.
It was one of the leads in Drawing Flies, I think.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah. And in Better Place.
Oh, yeah. So originally, I think Kevin Smith obviously wanted a bigger budget for this, and I think Miramax were going to give it to them, but as long as they cast like Drew Barrymore, David Schwimmer, and somebody else.
I think it was Jon Stewart.
Yeah, and Jon Stewart and Kevin Smith was like, "No, I want to cast these guys," and they're like, "Okay, we'll give you $250,000." So they went off and made this film with that, which apparently almost killed Scott Mosier, who's his producer, because it was just like, how the fuck am I meant to make this film with no money? So have you got a favourite character from this film then?
I do enjoy the other comic book writer?
Banky.
But the
Black Rage dude.
Yeah.
Hooper.
Hooper, that was it. Yeah, because they couldn't get Hooper into Mallrats.
Well,
they had Quentin Brody, but they couldn't get Hooper in.
Wasn't Jay's surname going to be Jay Hooper or something?
Was
like
it?
That? Yeah,
I didn't know that. I think all these scenes are very good. He's especially that opening.
What's the Black Militia group called? What are they called?
Black Panthers.
Is it by
Black Panther? He's like dressed like a Black Panther, isn't he?
Mm.
And then he turns out, he's gay. Flip it on its head. Fuck Lando Calrissian. But,
I always think of Yanni in the record store at the end.
So if this is not one of your favourites, do you have like a...
I'll probably go, I don't know, like Alyssa, I suppose, because it's nice to see like a main character, like a female main character in one of his films. But I'm going to go with Banky Edwards.
Yeah, he's a good character. It's just a shame he kind of... There's a good 40 minutes, he's hardly in it.
Yeah.
And then he comes back at the end when Ben Affleck's like, I think we should all have sex together.
What about yourself, Oliver?
Oh, myself. I mean, Banky's really well written. I think he is a good character. I mean, it's quite a small cast, really, if you think about it. There's not a lot of people in it. Like Jane, Silent Bob are hardly in it. They're just in one scene. But I think Jason Lee is fantastic in it. But it's weird how, like, when you first saw Chasing Amy, did you consider that he was gay, or that he was just like, he was just obsessed with his best friend, or how did you guys take it?
I mean, I didn't know the film kind of plays it both ways, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's so. I mean, when I first saw it, I wasn't really putting that much thought into it. Well, I would have been 16 when I first saw it, so I was just taking it at face value.
Face value, yeah.
Yeah, it took me until about 2 weeks ago before I started looking for any kind of subtext in any films, so it completely passed me by.
No, it's probably the same for me, to be honest.
I was going to say, I'm going to say the same.
I think it's Jane, Silent Bob where they kind of say it out loud, isn't it? That he's with Hooper, isn't he, I think, at the end of that one? I don't know whether that's meant to be canon or whatever. I mean...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. But he hasn't reappeared since, has he, Banky?
No, I'm surprised he didn't pop up in
Reboot,
but unless they just couldn't get him for enough days or something like that. But we'll get to there anyway. Okay, so any favourite scenes from that film or that springs to mind?
I'm struggling to think of any.
I was going to say the Jaws scene.
Yeah,
I think
that is really good.
Because Kevin Smith films are so like dialogue heavy, they're not really scenes as such. They're like more like quotes that you like.
Yeah, conversation.
Yeah, totally.
Because
that's what he does, walk and talk films. That's it, really.
Yeah, and going back to Joy Lord Adams, like her big scenes, like that, the conversation in the rain and the argument outside the hockey rink. Those are really good scenes. She's really, really good in this.
That hockey ring scene's really good. How they build up the tension with that's really good.
Yeah.
The intercut to the fight and stuff like that on the hockey rink. I do like the opening Comic-Con scene as well, because like as a kid I don't think you went to a Comic-Con or they didn't really exist here, so you kind of see that and you're like, wow, there's people dressed as Borgs walking around.
You fucking Tracer! Tracer's lying around your dead fucking body.
That's a good scene.
Yeah.
That's Casey Affleck, isn't it? I think.
I think he's the guy that Mosier like pulls in. He's like, look at this guy, this fucking Tracer.
So, Tom, you got any favourite scenes in that, or can you not remember it?
To be honest, considering this was one of the films I was going to rewatch before Friday. I thought it was, so I'm blanked, man. To be honest,
the four-way road scene always made me laugh because of how quickly he draws them. Like you see him sketching it really, really fast, and you can see how bad his drawings are, and then it cuts to a close-up of the drawing. And I think Scott Mosier drew it, and it's like really well illustrated. And you're like thinking, "There's no way you just sketched that in like 2 seconds." Do you remember that scene, Tom?
I don't at all.
I think he's just basically saying, what is it? It's like it's got the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus, and he's like, "Which one of these people are real?" or something like that.
Yeah, there's a dollar in the middle of the crossroads, and it's like, which one is going to get to the dollar first, or something like that.
Yeah, the one the
Santa Claus,
lesbian.
Easter Bunny, yeah.
And he's like, none of them because they're all figures.
I do, yeah.
All right, okay. So then in 1999, Dogma came out, which I think was supposed to be the follow-up to Clerks.
Yeah, it is teased at the end of Clerks.
But I think he like
Bond
shat
style.
himself that he couldn't pull off a movie like this straight after Clerks. So Tom, tell me about your experience with Dogma.
I think I actually saw this at the... did I see this at the cinema? I think I did. I remember...
I don't know, did you? You tell me.
I'm trying to remember. Like, yeah, I'm pretty certain I went to see it at the cinema. And I was just surprised at how many like amazing people he got in for it. Like, is Carlin's in there, isn't he?
Yeah, man. Yeah, this is the first Carlin. Yes, first.
Yes.
Who else is in there? Let me look.
Got Alanis Morissette.
Alanis Morissette as God, which I thought was an absolute stroke of genius.
She's actually quite good in it at the end.
Yeah, she's brilliant.
So
Chris Rock as well absolutely kills me. And
Salma Hayek.
Matt Damon.
And that Rickman dude.
Oh, yeah.
Which, like, I know, like, he's told that story about 1,000 times, but I still think that's hilarious because, like, throughout these films, like, Jay Muse is obviously struggling with drugs and alcohol and stuff. And I think it's this one where he sorts his shit out and he actually learns all the lines of dialogue. And I think that's a beautiful anecdote, man.
Well, he's in it quite a lot, to be honest.
What's that?
He doesn't just learn his dialogue, he learns everyone else's dialogue as well.
Learns Rickman's as well, and when he forgets his lines, he's sort of, telling him. But I adore this film, man. I think it's fucking awesome.
It's because I think he even got scared of the idea of himself directing it, so he tried to, like, give it to Robert Rodriguez to direct, I think, at one point. But yeah, again, it's another one of his walking, talking movies, but it's kind of got this fantasy element into it, and I think it works quite well.
Yeah.
Like, you've got the poo demon in it that's really good.
The caca demon.
Yeah, that really speaks to my sensibilities.
Yeah. Well, James has written a script called Rumble in the Bowels. He also directed a film called Angry and Moist.
Rumble in the Bowels was what it sounded like. Angry and Moist wasn't what it sounded like.
Right. I just had a vision of the follow-up to Teeth with Angry and Moist.
What do you think about the pairing of Ben Affleck and Matt Damon in this as opposed to... Because it was originally meant to be Jason Lee and Ben Affleck as the
I
two
think
leads.
obviously they'd been in... What's the famous film? Go on, I just completely blanked.
Good Will Hunting?
Yeah, so they've obviously got like a camaraderie between the two of them that I think really works well on screen.
I think Matt Damon's great in this.
Yeah, I think he's brilliant. Yeah, it's like...
They won the Oscar for Good Will Hunting whilst they were shooting this.
I forgot to thank Kevin Smith. Because Kevin Smith gave the script to Miramax or something like that.
Yeah.
That kind of helped them get it made.
And I didn't even realise that, man.
Yeah. I think Kevin Smith's an executive producer on that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
With Scott Mosier.
Basically just handing it to somebody.
Yeah.
Is that how it works in Hollywood?
What about yourself, Ollie? What do you think of this film? What's your views?
Well, I didn't actually see this at the cinema. Bearing in mind, I'd just become a huge devotee to Kevin Smith, the Church of Kevin Smith that summer. For some reason, I didn't get around to seeing it at the cinema, and I can't remember why. And I remember just hiring it out and just absolutely loving it at the time. But I thought it was really cool. I just thought it was a good movie. I love the look of the angels. They're kind of wearing... I don't know, they kind of look like a lot of... rockers did in the early 90s, late 90s, 2000s with the big trench coat and hoodies.
I think I definitely took some inspiration there.
I mean, you definitely still see people walking around dressed like that. And I mean, at Comic-Cons, there's a lot of Kevin Smiths walking around. But I really like
They're not even in costume. They just look like him in general.
Like the wings of the angels look wicked, and when Alan Rickman pulls down his trousers and, he's like genderless. Yeah. And I just need to cough. I apologise.
That's all right.
You son of a bitch.
I think I need some of your water, James. Look at that. Special
effects. Nice.
I quite like the use of Jay and Silent Bob in this as well, though. And they weren't as... it's a more over-the-top story, but they kind of still... felt like Jay and Silent Bob to me in this one, I think.
I think it was because I'm trying to think of how the films go from here. So what does it go on to from this? I think this is the point where I'm sort of... They use Jay and Silent Bob, in my opinion, perfectly in this, but...
Yeah, agreed.
Later on, it doesn't work for me, those two characters. I don't know why. I can't put a finger on it. But the film never did anything for me.
Well, there's not enough to them as characters to support a film by themselves. They work as supporting characters where they don't have to do any heavy lifting. They can just get in, be funny, and then get out again.
Exactly that, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what they used as in this film, is just for punchlines in scenes, or just for that little sprinkling of comedy on top of a huge theological discussions about the implications of religious obsession and God being proved wrong, destroying existence. And then Jay comes in with a dick joke, and then everything's all right.
I do love that scene, though, where they're outside of movies, and I think... isn't Chris Rock like a watcher? He just watches humans from heaven or whatever. And he's like... Jay's like, tell them something about me that you don't know. No one else knows. And he goes, you masturbate more than anybody on the planet. He's like... Tell me something I don't know. Is when you're doing it, you're thinking about guys. I mean, again, there's a lot of gay jokes, and I don't know if they're expensive being gay, but... And I mean, his brother's actually gay in real life, isn't he? Kevin Smith's brother, I think. Yeah. So they're the gay jokes teeter a little bit on the edge of, is that okay? Yeah. I mean, the last film has got a lot of gay jokes in it.
I rewatched the Clerks cartoon the other day. There is a lot of gay jokes.
Is there?
In that. Yeah.
I only watched a couple of those Clerks cartoons, but they're really good. I enjoyed them, man.
Yeah, I thought it really held up.
Yeah.
Hang on, we haven't got there yet.
Oh, sorry, man. Doing it in order.
So yeah, if anyone hasn't seen Dogma, I don't know why I'm going through the plot, but it's about two fallen angels who just basically want to go back up to heaven, and by doing that, they kind of go against God's will, and then God will kind of unmake the earth. Which I think it's quite a cool idea.
I do as well,
really.
Man. Was some of the inspiration was his family Catholic? Kevin Smith, is that right?
Oh yeah, massive.
They were massively Catholic, weren't they? I just thought, yeah. But I don't think he's as religious as he used to be, or if at all.
I think he's pretty much given it up at this point.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, it takes like jabs at religion, but it's not in a nasty way. I don't think. I think it's done
George
very.
Carlin's brilliant. So you're right. It doesn't take it in a nasty way, but George Carlin's brilliant as like the Colonel not Colonel. What's it?
Fuck.
Anyway, but
he's one of them guys.
He's the reason why the angels can go back to
Cardinal.
The Cardinal.
Yes.
He's the reason why the angels are able to get back into into heaven, because he basically, if man says, I can't remember what the idea is now, but if man says something,
it's some Catholic doctrine that says if you walk through this arch, during this ceremony, you're absolved of all sin.
Sins, that's it. Yeah.
Which apparently is a real thing, and that's what inspired him to write the scripts.
Oh, awesome, man.
And I think it's his most ambitious idea in terms of a story that he's done. I think
he wrote this before Clerks, didn't he?
Probably,
and
or at least
he wrote it, and it's like this. I cannot shoot this on credit cards. I need to do something cheaper first.
I mean, if you look at the effects now, I've seen people with a tiny little laptop and that have done better special effects than it, but there aren't that many in it, to be honest. But there's a cool bit where they're attacking Jason Lee with the golf clubs.
I was just about to. What are the three kids with the clubs? What are they meant to be?
The Stygian triplets, they're called.
Yeah,
that's it.
I don't know what the fuck that means, though.
Because they do that thing where they tear a hole in like the space time, and they can kind of like teleport.
I assumed they were just sort of like demonic minions.
Yeah,
I don't know if there's any specific thing that they're meant to be.
Okay, I just thought they were cool characters, man.
So I forgot to mention Linda Florentino. How do you pronounce her name? Linda
Florentino.
What do you think of her in this?
I think she's good. She's apparently they didn't get on when they were shooting, but I don't think it comes across in the film.
Well, I guess she's professional, so when it comes
to she is very laid back through the whole thing.
Yeah, she's a bit casual. I don't know, there are some scenes where she's like, "What the fuck?" kind of.
Yeah.
Like the.
So go on.
No, you carry. I was going to say, like, she does the typical hero thing where it's like the call to arms, and then there's the what do they call it, where they kind of like midway through the story where you're like, I can't fucking do this, and then
the low point, the point of no return.
Yeah, that's it.
Type thing, yeah.
So there's all that, like when she's like, she finds out that she's like the great granddaughter of Jesus or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Jay's just like, does that mean she's part black then? Which is but so
I feel like she wasn't. One thing, it wasn't his first choice. Well,
it was Joey Lauren Adams, and then they said you can't.
You can't have her.
Which I find really baffling, considering the success of Chasing Amy.
Yeah, and all the praise and nominations.
So I don't know whether though the production started before the praise and the awards and the nominations for Chasing Amy came in.
I'm not sure. But it seems, they'd seen Chasing Amy at that point. They knew what the performance was. They knew she was good. So it's just another film producer being a dickhead and saying, no, you got to do it my way.
To be honest, I'd probably rather her in the lead than Joey Lauren Adams. I don't know if I could deal with her voice the whole way through.
I don't mind her voice. I think it's endearing.
It can be a bit grating. But so who's your favourite character, Tom, in this?
Oh.
Do you have a favourite character?
Oh.
Favourite character and moment. I'll put them together. Save time.
What's Rickman's character called?
He's the Metatron.
The Metatron. I'm going to say Rickman just because I love his voice.
Alan Rickman. I was in Harry Potter. You
I don't know, there's loads of strong characters in this, but the one thing that I was quite surprised at, because we were both we were all saying, like, Alanis Morissette was good in it, like at the end. And she was nominated for the Stinkers Bad Movie Award for musicians who shouldn't be acting. Which
Really?
which I thought was quite funny.
She doesn't even have a line of dialogue,
No.
apart from when she opens her mouth and blows Matt Damon.
She goes, what?
No,
Blows Matt
blows her
Damon.
head.
And
Blows his head. I meant to
I missed
say.
that.
And there's another one.
I know there's 100 minutes of deleted scenes, but I didn't see that one.
What?
They were
Was
all.
there a load of deleted scenes? I know there's
100 minutes.
Is there? Are they all on here?
I believe so.
I heard a while ago that he said he was going to do a scene that involved like a CGI scene with hell. That he was going to
Yeah, it's when
it.
Jason Lee has got them all tied up in the bar, and they're asking him why he's doing it, and he had a big long speech about how terrible it was in hell, and they posted a kind of half-done version on the View Askew website back in the day, but he puts his hand on somebody's head. I guess it's Linda Fiorentino's, and she has this vision of hell, and it all goes crazy. And
Oh, that's a shame. That would have been quite
yeah,
cool.
they cut that out, and there's just the vanilla version with just the production audio on the DVD.
Oh, is there? Oh, okay.
And they were meant to redo it for that, and they never got around to it, so they put on a half-done version on the website. I don't know if it's still there or if it's still around on YouTube or something. But
Nice.
yeah, I was going to say that's one of my favourite scenes. Although now you mention it, it's cut out, but I did enjoy that whole speech that he gives about
I have to listen
about
to
hell. Yeah.
Tom?
What were you asking me then? Sorry, dude.
So, favourite... Did I already ask Tom this? I
I
can't
think
remember.
you've my favourite character. You've
Yeah,
already,
right.
you've asked. I'm going with Rickman, dude.
Right.
What was your favourite scene then? Did you have a favourite scene?
Scene. I like the conversation between the two fallen angels, and they're just discussing the human race at one point, and I can't remember.
Oh, when they're in the... Are they
in the
or
airport
train station?
And I just love the conversation between the two of them, but I can't remember it for the life of me how it's worded.
Well, I think he's like... I think Ben Affleck says that... Like, Matt Damon's
He's just
character
such a-
watching people come off the train or the plane, and then...
It's so
Ben Affleck's going, well,
existentialist.
she doesn't know that he had sex with blah-de-blah and blah-de-blah.
That's it. Yeah.
I mean, my favourite scene is when Matt Damon wants to... he goes to the movie's head office, and he kind of like tells everybody what their sins are and stuff, and how they should repent for their sins, and then he like just kills them all. And then you've got the woman who's like cowering, and he's like, because he sneezes at one point in this scene, and he's like gonna kill her, but says,
You didn't say God bless you.
yeah, but lets her off. All right then. So
I do like that whole big action scene at the end, as they're fighting with Ben Affleck, and Jay ends up shooting off his wings with the Uzi in slow
That
motion.
does look cool as
Oh,
hell.
she
with
makes
those
it.
bust
He
up
makes him
wings.
mortal.
And I really like the soundtrack, the score by Howard Shaw, who works with David Cronenberg, and he did the Lord of the Rings.
Is this the first time they had an
soundtracks.
actual score for one of his films as well? Or is...
They had a score for Mallrats, although it was only about 10 minutes of music. The rest of it was songs. And Dave Perner of Soul Asylum did about 10 or 15 minutes for Chasing Amy, which I don't think has been released anywhere, apart from the main title, Tube of Wonderful,
Right.
which is on the Jay and Silent Bob
That's
soundtrack.
the.
Yeah. But yeah, there's no songs on this apart from the Alanis Morissette one over the end.
Not even ABC. 1, 2, 3.
That's Clerks, isn't it? Is it?
No,
Dogma?
it's in the strip club scene with.
Oh yeah, Candy Girl.
Sam. Yeah.
And
Yeah, no.
the other thing I was going to mention, there were actually like protests for this film as well, weren't there?
Oh, they got death threats, man,
Yeah.
for this film. Like, it's ridiculous. When you see the finished film, you think you got death threats over this film. Seems a bit heavy-handed.
Well, there was meant to be a documentary about that on this DVD, and Sony pussied out at the last minute and took it off.
Oh, really?
So it's actually on the Vulgar DVD. It's
I'll have to get that out then. I haven't
Judge
watched
Not
that.
in Defense of Dogma. It's just on
nice.
Vulgar.
Well, they did that. We're on Clerks. There's a documentary about the making of
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
That was going to be really smooth, Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back.
Oh, I see. really got to plan these things out in advance.
We don't plan shit around here. So, James, what do you think of James and Bob Strike Back?
I really like it. It's a giant, ludicrous cartoon of a movie, and it's very entertaining, and it looks really good. Like for Dogma, they got to the point where they said, "Look, Kevin, your films all look like shit. You need to hire a different camera guy." And Dogma looks a bit better, but it's still kind of very average looking.
Dogma wasn't shot by.
No, it was Dave Klein is his usual DP, and it's Robert Yeoman, I think, for Dogma.
Yeah, you're correct.
Which there's a phrase called doing a yeoman's job, which means like just doing the basic amount of work. So when Kevin Smith later used the phrase "doing a yeoman's job," I thought he was taking a shit on his DP for Dogma, but it's actually two separate things. But anyway, yeah. So on Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, they got this guy Jamie Anderson, who it looks fucking fantastic. It looks really polished and nice. Jamie Anderson does a lot of really nice stuff like that. He shot The Gift, the Sam Raimi film.
I like that film.
Yeah, and he also shot Piranha, the original Joe Dante version.
Oh wow.
So yeah, he's got a really nice look, but I just think it looks like a cartoon, even though it's live action. It's just really brightly coloured, and I really like the look of it. And it's just ridiculous in a good way.
I tell you what, you can see how much Dave Klein though has like progressed from Clerks to like, I think he does Homeland, or he did most of Homeland, and you could just see his progression as a cinematographer now.
Well, you could see it in Chasing Amy.
Massively.
Yeah.
But I don't see why he wasn't allowed to work on Dogma. Like, they saw the work he produced.
The Weinsteins.
Yeah, they don't exactly
forcing their.
James, you'll have to send me a picture of your soundtrack collection. I've never seen.
I'd love to see that. I was just noticing with every film you've got the soundtrack. I was just about to ask you, what's the soundtrack?
It's on. If you've still got my Instagram page up, and there's a photograph on there.
There's a picture where I think you can just see the top of James's head poking above his CDs. But James is insane. He'll pay like £50-60 to get CDs shipped to his house.
I mean, it's not intentional. Like I've paid £50 for a CD because I got dicked on import charges.
It's gonna happen.
I try to only pay £30 as a maximum.
So if the CD costs £15, do you not have to pay the import tax on it then?
If the CD and shipping is under £15.
Oh, and the shipping.
Yeah, that's where it fucking gets you. And all the stuff I buy is generally $20 minimum, and then buying from the US, it's another $15 for shipping.
Hey, is that a bottle of Crystal Head vodka behind you?
It's an empty bottle of Crystal Head vodka. Got it for my birthday a few years ago.
Was it nice? Apparently it's meant to be silky smooth.
It was very nice. Rosie got it for me, and took it around to her house, and we watched Phantom of the Paradise, and I was shit-faced by about halfway through.
You didn't watch Ghostbusters while drinking Crystal Head vodka?
You watched two films, but I can never remember what the first one was. I just know that by halfway through
completely forgot that
I was on the floor.
That's Aykroyd's company, isn't it? Or he's got something to do with it. Only that because I listened to that Joe Rogan podcast where he's on about having sex with ghosts.
The Ghostbusters documentary I worked on, he's like shilling that hard. He's wearing a Crystal Head vodka t-shirt, shirt, hat.
Cap, yeah.
Anyway, Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back.
I like this film as well, man. I think it is when he gets like I'm not going to say. Would you classify this as a blockbuster? Like
he definitely got a bigger budget for this.
Yeah, I think it's his biggest budget to that point.
And it really feels like one.
Jersey Girl probably.
And I think,
Jersey Girl had 35.
And I mean, he's got like I'm trying to think of some of the people in it. It must have been amazing for Kevin Smith to have Mark Hamill in one of his films as well, man. Like,
oh yeah, like your childhood hero.
Jesus, imagine.
I mean, he stops the film to point it out.
And you call him Cockknocker.
Cockknocker. How do you do that? I'm trying to think. The other thing is you've got that like the lad who was in is it American Pie?
Jason
Yeah,
Biggs.
Yeah, because he's sort of crossing over into like the newer sort of slacker comedies, like with that, isn't he? So he's pulled him in, and there's someone else as well.
Well, there's a few people from American Pie in it. You've also got the guy who plays Stifler.
That's it, yeah.
And you've got the guy from Dawson's Creek. I'm telling you, I can't remember any of these guys' names.
Yeah.
James
Sean
Van Der Beek.
Stark.
Forehead.
Forehead. Floppy hair forehead.
Floppy forehead. But I think it's a great film, man. Like, obviously...
Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell's in it.
Yeah, he plays
he's the sheriff.
Willenholly.
Shit,
Marshall.
he is.
Yeah, Marshall Willenholly.
See, I needed to catch up on all of these.
So this is where they bring back the ape from Mallrats, Suzanne, don't they? And this is, I guess, it's supposed to be that story. But have any of you read this? The comic book Chasing Dogma.
No,
I didn't. I don't think I got to that one.
It's basically how they go from Chasing Amy to Dogma and their journey they took, and it's got the monkey in it, and it's even got the federal wildlife marshal in it, Willenholly, and it's even got like all the scenes from the film are in it. So like this came out before Jane and Silent Bob Strikes Back, and it's even got the Planet of the Apes reference in it. It's got the kind of the fugitive moment when they kind of fall out of the dam. It's got all that in it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think it's a good fun film. It's like, I think at the time I really liked it. Then as I got a bit older or whatever and a bit more snootier, I probably turned my nose up at it.
I mean, it has been a very long time since I watched it.
But I rewatched it again recently to prepare for Reboot, and I had a good time with it actually. It's got some questionable bits in it again, like the gay.
Well, I was about to say
but
this is a point where the film actually came under fire from the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation. Sorry, my brain's completely smashed. But they say it's got an overwhelmingly homophobic tone, which is included an abundance of gay jokes and characters excessively using the term "gay" in a derogatory way, I suppose. But
there definitely are a lot, which is surprising again, considering, like, as I said, his brother's gay and stuff like that. And I genuinely don't think Kevin Smith has a hateful bone in his body.
No, not at all. But this is one of those things where it's quite hard to talk about, because I grew up and like gay was a bad thing to say, or it was something that you'd say to a friend. Do you know what I mean? But you didn't know what you were saying at that point.
It meant a lot of things, didn't it?
Yeah.
It'd either be, you could say you'd say it flippantly to a friend as a joke,
totally,
or you'd say it to, or bullies would shout it at you, going, "I'm not gay."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a weird thing, right? Like, it's totally changed now, which is
this is much better. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But welcome to Tom Nolly's Big Kids Club, where we tackle all the big issues.
Where we fumble about and fucking all. And isn't it the order of the clit in this, going back to the Thomas? Let's get back to the task at hand. What does clit stand for?
Oh, isn't it?
Coalition for the Liberation of Itinerant Tree Dwellers.
Bad man. That was good. But yeah, what was I going to say? I've really enjoyed this film, man. And I think if we're going to say one of his films is a blockbuster, it's this one to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that whole end scene though, with Chris Rock as the director. And he goes, "Film the motherfucker."
I forgot about that.
This movie's going to make House Party 2 look like House Party 3.
And then Jamie Kennedy comes to him with a cough and he goes, "Do you spit in it?" He's like, "No, sir, it's spit free." And I've just pulled out my
Jamie
headphone.
Kennedy.
Hang on a minute. Hey.
Oh, I do like.
He's
Also,
such a cockhead.
when you were going to talk about, I gather we're going on to favourite scenes. Like, obviously, the whole film is it around this, but on the soundtrack, "Idiots versus the Internet." Just the way that, like,
when they're typing up the blog post.
Oh, this is his whole spiel.
Yeah, the whole spiel, man.
Where I'm going to make you eat your own shit that's made up of our shit. And
yeah, it fucking kills me, man.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
Are they in the movies at that point as well?
Yeah. So
They are,
movies have been around since Dogma, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. That was
Have
fun.
I do like the use of movies. I do find that Kevin Smith tends to overdo the kind of homemade fake T-shirts and stuff, and like some of his graphics in his films look a bit naff sometimes, and that. But I think movies as a whole looks really well done, and it looks
especially in Clerks. Well, Clerks 2, I should say. What was I going to say? He's actually opened the movies, hasn't he?
Did he?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's like a pop-up type thing.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I don't know if it's still happening, but it was definitely. I saw him posting about it.
They sold out like within the first 2 hours of just putting it online, and they had to cancel all orders after that. They just completely sold out. Killed it with it, man. It's nuts.
All right. Okay. So, what am I doing? Right. So yeah, what's your favourite character and scene, James?
I do like the break-in, both of the diamond heist and the animal research lab.
Is it
I
because
think
you
that
have
whole
four
scene's
pretty ladies wearing tight clothing?
I
and
mean,
then
that
fart?
helps, and also, a big fat gag at the end, just a nice little sprinkling of genius over the top. And it's one of those like go big or go home type farts. Like normally I'm a fan of the kind of Trey Parker type fart noises, but this is a full-on that reverbs around the room.
I did last year. I went to. I did the Crystal Maze. And one of the rooms was a laser room.
Oh right.
And like I thought I was doing so well, like doing my best kind of what's her name in Entrapment, Catherine Zeta-Jones. Like I probably looked the least sexy I've ever looked trying to like go in and out of there. But yeah,
See, I was thinking Jack Black in The Pick of Destiny.
Oh yeah. But yeah, who's your favourite character though?
Character, it's. I think Will and Holly is a good character, and you know a lot of that stuff is improvised with Will Ferrell. I'm trying to think what else is going on. I do like Holden's reappearance in this, as he explains the internet to him. It's a place where people come together and bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
He does a lot of that in his films now, like the whole meta stuff. Like I mean, the whole of Yoga Hoses is pretty much a fuck you to critics and
although there is a Clerks reference in that. I was going to mention it when you were talking about Brian Johnson earlier. One of the signs they put up. Well, I'll talk about it on the other one.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, I mean it covers both oeuvres of his work. So which one do you address it on? The View Askew or the other side?
Or the other one. I think my favourite character is Chris Rock. It just that I know he's ending it for a little bit, but he just makes me proper laugh in that. And then I'm trying to think who else. Like you've got Carrie Fisher in this as well. You've got who's the guy from the Breakfast Club?
Judd Nelson.
Judd Nelson. Yeah.
I was going to say Carlin as well, just for his expression when he gets in the truck, because his whole method of payment for hitchhiking is to blow the driver. And he's like, "So long, boys. I'll see you further down the road."
I do like in that scene though, like you know when he goes, "It's the first rule of the road." I like the music. 'Cause it goes dun 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 dun.
And don't they get in a car with like an old deer after that as well? Like
that's Carrie Fisher.
Is it? Oh my god, that's how long ago I haven't watched this for. Yeah, nuts, man.
Yeah, she plays a nun.
The first rule of the road.
I do like the scene again though. It goes back to I shouldn't say that because a lot, like you said, it got in trouble with a lot of gay rights and stuff like that, and rightfully so. Like there's a scene. It is funny when they come out of the like the cafeteria. And they're like saying, "We're two gay men with our child," and it's like a monkey, and it is funny at the same time. You are kind of going,
"Nah, man,
it's one of the least egregious things in there."
It's just funny.
Well, like, there's another bit where they're on the movie. I do like them on the movie studio lot actually when they're like seeing Scream 4 being made.
There was Daredevil. Yeah, it would have been Scream 4 of that. No, it would have been Scream 3 of that.
Was Daredevil in the film, or was that in the deleted scene?
No, that he just kind of rolls out of the way when they're running down.
Because in the deleted scene, he goes comics. but they see Good Will Hunting 2. What is it?
Yeah,
What's
I
the
don't think
sequel
they'd
called?
say what Scream movie it is. I think it's just a generic slasher with Wes Craven and Ghostface in.
Because do you remember Jay and Silent Bob in Scream 3?
Yeah, it's one of the
Yes.
few things I remember about Scream 3.
Right.
Because what are they doing? Are they
Okay.
queuing up? Is that what happens in Scream 3?
Yeah, they're on a studio tour,
Yeah, that's it.
and then Courtney Cox walks past, and they're like, "Dude, look, Connie fucking Chong."
But yeah, but there's another scene where they meet the security guard on from the lot, and he kind of Jay goes, "Will you let us go if I blow him or something like that?" And there's a whole gag with that. But anyway, okay, yeah. So that's that film. What's next? Clerks 2. I guess Clerks 2 is the next one.
Yeah, that's the View Askew.
Yeah. So, thoughts on Clerks 2 then, James?
Ooh. Sorry, before we start, can I just pop to the loo?
Go on then.
That'll be right. Just going to be 2 seconds.
Hey.
I was waiting for
Tom's back.
I was waiting for you to have put I don't know, something there.
Oh, that requires effort.
Right.
I'm not in the mood for effort today. So, okay, we'll start again. So then, I guess when did Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back come out? Like 2001?
2001, because I was in sixth form, and I got the DVD. I accidentally locked one of the Macs in the media room in sixth form onto Region 1 as I played my Jay and Silent Bob DVD in there.
So is it 2005 or 6 this came
2006.
6, yeah.
So this was actually the first Kevin Smith film I actually saw at the cinema, which is crazy. So Clerks 2. So what do you reckon of this, Tom?
I think this is another awesome one. I think this is one of his stronger films, definitely, man. And it's really nice to see everyone reprise their roles as well.
Yeah, because didn't they have a bit of a falling out, Jeff Anderson and Kevin Smith?
I think they did, didn't they? I mean, it seems to be a running thing with people that he makes films with, because they fall out, he fell out with Ben Affleck after, I know this is...
I don't think he fell out with Ben Affleck. It felt like it just two friends, just...
drifted apart.
I think he fell out with Ben Affleck's wife at the time.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think that was the main force behind it. I don't know if they actually fell out with Jeff Anderson. I know he was holding out, he didn't want to sully the original Clerks, so he was very hard to persuade to do a sequel, but I don't know if they actively fell out on it.
Oh, okay. But, so yeah, it's just the quick stop gets blown, it's set on fire or...
In some very dubious...
dodgy effects.
Yeah.
I don't know if the effect itself is dodgy or just the fact that it's the only colour element in a black and white shot, and that makes
you
it
might be
dodgier
right,
than it actually is.
It's not as effective as the girl in the red dress in Schindler's List, though, is it? And then they end up working in movies, and I think it's quite a decent film. I mean, I like the dance sequence, but it kind of... Clerks is quite gritty and real, gritty with... Here we go, he's got his soundtrack out. It's gritty and real, but this one kind of goes for a bit more fantasy, and this is more of the kind of over-the-top Jay and Silent Bob, I guess.
I think it's got one of the strongest scenes in one of his films, though, when he's when the guy's wanking. Sorry, I've skipped to the end already.
When's that?
He's jerking off and he's watching the dog and pony. What is it? What would you call that?
Oh, the Donkey Show.
The Donkey Show. And he's just saying, I'm sorry, Jesus. Or I think he's one of my all-time favourite scenes, man.
Yeah, what's his character's name in it? The
Elias.
Elias, that's it.
That's it. I think he's a strong character. I think he's brilliant. And the way he plays off against Randall's fucking incredible.
I do like the pussy troll scene.
Really creeps me out, man. But yeah,
but I think the two leads have definitely improved. The guy who plays Dante is a lot better, and I think Randall's...
I don't know if that's a lot to do with his filmmaking, maybe as well, his improvement in his filmmaking
as a director.
Just
kind of getting the performance he wants.
Yeah.
Well, I think maybe with Clerks 1, he probably gave a lot more line readings, which is You ever like line reading's really frowned upon in filmmaking? It's like, no, you say it exactly like how I'm saying it now. So maybe he got away from like telling people how to say stuff and kind of let them naturally kind of say things how they would naturally say it, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
I think it was Joey Lauren Adams who told him about that. It was like,
don't fucking give line
fucking
reading.
Stop it, dickhead.
Well, if anyone's going to be able to do that, is your girlfriend at the time.
Yeah, I think that's what got through to him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I know he went to a film school, but I don't think he only did like a few months there, so it's not like he learned.
I don't remember. I went to film school, and I don't remember him talking anything about directing actors.
Did you give line readings? Do you reckon?
No, because I'd already heard the story of him getting into trouble from all the actors. So that's one of the few things. Like, I'm very bad at directing actors, or I used to be. I think I'm a little bit better now. But
no, you're good. I think
the main thing in my head is...
He does have a habit, though, because I shot James's last film. He has a habit. He's got...
Oh, is this the one you were down in London shooting?
Yeah, so James has got a constant stream of... He knows the right meme and the right kind of gag for any conversational moment. Right. And he can just pull up his phone and go like, here you go. So I'm like, James, are we ready to shoot this scene? He's like, yeah. And he'll have like a little conversation, but then he'll be searching on his phone.
Well, that's gonna get a lot worse now that I've got a 400 gig card in my phone, and I've got a lot of movies on there. That was part of the inspiration of buying it, is so I could bring up more clips whilst I'm out and I can explain things to people.
No, but he's a very good director. But anyway,
yeah, but that's the only directing thing I remember whenever I'm on set is do not give a line reading. Just try and work your way around it to get to that line reading.
I don't think I'm just too lazy to even think about that. Like, just let the actors do what they're going to do. That's why you hire them. Yeah,
that's what I generally try to do. I very rarely. The actors are usually a lot better than you can do anyway. So it's I forgot where I was going with that, but
So,
anything else to say about Clerks 2?
Well, I was just reading this was originally going to be called Passion of the Clerks.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I like the trailer that he dropped years ago on the View Askew message board or whatever, because that's how me and James met. It was through the View Askew message board. So this was like a message board back. I don't know if you were on the original whiteboard, but it was like a proper old message board where it was just text and nothing else. And I was a member on that. And then it kind of got a bit schwanky with a bit more like what we consider a modern-day message board.
BB posting or something like that.
Something like that. Bulletin board or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's how me and James met, because he was making a horror film at the time and he was doing some effects. I was like, oh, how'd you do that? And he told me how he did it. And then somehow we're still friends about 20 years later.
Oh, amazing, man.
But it was after he did a Q&A at the Prince Charles. And,
yeah, that's right.
I asked him a question. And I videoed it because it was going to be part of my portfolio for my major project at college. I was asking him about internet distribution and things like that, so that was going to be in my little documentary.
Because I remember sitting there going, "Who's that dickhead holding the video camera the whole time? He's there for 4 hours," and I'm like, "Well, Jesus Christ!"
I borrowed a battery. I borrowed a camera battery from college, and my tutor assured me that it had been fully charged. It was meant to be a 9-hour battery, and then it gets to like the 3-hour mark, and the battery dies right in the middle of him answering my question. So I'm like, do I put the camera down now that it's dead, and it looks like I'm bored with his answer, and I can't be asked filming it? Or
wasn't he annoyed that someone was filming it? Or
I don't think so. I think it was pretty early on at that point. Not many people had a camera phones and all that kind of stuff. They weren't really that prevalent.
Because that was the cool thing about Kevin Smith, though, because pre-Twitter and Instagram and all that, he was a really open filmmaker. You had access to him, so you could actually talk to him on the message board, and he'd message you back and stuff like that, which was really crazy to think. So, back in the day, you'd just type something to Kevin Smith, and a few hours later, you'd see he's replied to you, and it was nuts, just having that access to someone that you kind of really looked up to and aspired, and then one thing I was going to mention as well, Tom, have you ever seen any of these? So, we said that we kind of went to see Kevin Smith live.
Oh yeah.
So you've got the live. Have you ever seen these?
They're not on YouTube or anything, are they?
They might be. I don't
Yeah,
know, but they're
might
like
have.
the evening with Kevin Smith, and there's like
Okay,
it's the
'cause-
precursor. It's like the precursor to him doing his podcast.
I was going to
I
say.
obviously haven't.
Oh, nuts.
So
Nice.
yeah, basically it's Q&As with people just asking questions. He's answering them. So that's
I'm sure I have
they kind
seen
of-
a few actually.
they kind of evolved into more stand-ups, I think, later on, where he kind of had set things he wanted to talk about, and he'd propose it as a Q&A, and he'd kind of any question people would ask, he'd kind of work it into his thing that he wanted to talk about. So I think one of them, when I went to see him, because I've seen him 4 times now, one of them he just went into a whole 2-hour rant about Bruce Willis. And it had nothing to do with the question that someone asked him about. But
Well, I went to the recording of the second DVD,
me too.
and I think before. Were you there on that one?
Yeah, I was there.
You didn't make it. You didn't make it to the DVD menu, though, did it?
No,
Did you?
James is a chapter menu button. His face is a chapter menu button.
Nuts.
You see me in there, no? Like I just had an ear operation,
Yeah.
and you can see me like going. Some shots.
Like a shaggy dog.
Yeah, man.
But he did put a post up on the board before the recording saying there's a bunch of stories that I want to get down and recorded for future reference. So if anybody wants to ask these questions,
I don't remember
then
that.
do that. Yeah, there was the one about Harley saying shit in the backseat of the car and then finding it hilarious. So she just kept putting shit in front of a bunch of other words until they told her what shit meant, and then she was horrified.
Did he say it's your acting, dear? Sorry.
Oh!
sick man. So anyway, back to Clerks 2.
Yeah.
So favourite scenes or characters in Clerks 2?
Jason Lee's character is pretty fun. He's got his "My name is Earl" mustache,
He does.
Yeah, man.
and he's lording it over Dante and Randall. And
I do like that.
angry
whole set
Jason
with-
Lee is very funny. Jason Lee.
Yeah.
I do like the set with the flies and the piss and then, the pubes or whatever, and they put it in the burger and then they give it to James Silent. That was good.
Dude, this tastes like piss and flies.
Tom, how about
I'm
you?
sticking with my I'm sorry, Jesus.
That is good.
It's fucking amazing.
Right, okay, so our final film, I guess, of the day is... Where is it? I haven't got it. You've probably got it.
I do.
Oh, go on, Tom. Tell us what you think about this.
Oh, don't do that to me, man. So I watched it on my own, and I've only watched it once. I need to watch it again, but it felt very...
Do you, Tom? Do you really
Do I what?
need to watch it again?
No, I don't think I do, man. See... So... Oh, God, I can't even discuss it. I don't know where to go with it. It just didn't... It fell flat with me, I'll be honest. It really fell flat.
Yeah, it didn't really work for me. I just think a lot of the jokes felt quite forced. They didn't feel quite natural.
And there was lots of meta stuff going on in it, and I don't know. For me, also, did you notice with the soundtrack there weren't? I know it's probably like he's funded it himself, so there wasn't the budget there or like the links to getting like good songs. But I missed like the Mallrats soundtrack. I felt like it needed like some decent music.
You haven't got the backing even of Universal Studios or Sony. Do you know what I mean? It's probably like you haven't got that catalogue of music to pull from.
Yeah.
But I will say though, I think Jason Mewes is all right in the film. I think he's pretty good and he holds it together well.
He does hold the film together. I think I liked it more than you guys did.
Yeah.
I think the first half is kind of a slog.
You have a character in it called Jihad. I mean, it's a bit of
I mean that's it's like that's a trauma, literally a trauma level joke because there is.
I was going to say that's trauma.
That's Poltergeist.
Yeah, I love that film.
There's someone called Jihad in that who blows up the Poltergeist chicken at the end, zombie chicken. But it's I think once like the back half of the film kind of picks up, but it does take some random detours. It's just like he had some jokes in his head and he's kind of just stitched them together. More so than in Clerks, at least that kind of had the structure of it's being one day at work, so it can be just a series of vignettes, but this is meant to be an actual plot. It's meant to be a driving force behind it, and it felt very yeah, like you say, very forced to get to a certain point. But I think once they actually get to the Comic-Con thing, it gets pretty funny. And it does look quite nice for a low-budget film.
Yeah.
What was the budget on it? Do you know?
It's higher than his last couple. I think it might be 5 or 6 million, something like that.
Okay.
Maybe, yeah. I can't remember. I did hear it recently, but I can't remember what it was. I know, like these last few films have averaged about $3 million or $2 million, and it was more than that.
Apparently, like screen averages, this made a lot of money. Like it didn't screen on many, on like loads of cinema screens.
I think he did it very cleverly, didn't he?
Well, because tickets were like $70 each because he did a Q&A with
Yeah.
it, so it kind of pushed it above there.
So the budget was actually dollars, so 10 million. Which is nuts. And the box office, it did 4.7 million. So I don't know how that works.
Well, it made most of his money through pre-sales. I think they've already made the money back for the most part before they actually get to the roadshow.
I think they did that with like Red State and Tusk.
Yeah.
And they made their money back before they even made the film. So, so like Netflix deals or TV deals and stuff like that. But the bit that I didn't understand in the film, so maybe you can explain this to me, James, or if I'm looking into it too much.
Well, I only watched it once, so I might be in the same position as you.
So they're in the Comic-Con and they hear this banging. Bearing in mind, Jay doesn't know that Bob has gone and dressed up as Iron Bob. And he's like, I want to introduce you to my friend, Iron Bob. And then he bursts through the door in the Iron Man suit. Jay wasn't privy to that Iron Man suit outside.
But, this... I sure hope someone got fired for that blunder. Yeah, can't help you with that.
But yeah, so it's very meta, which I don't necessarily dislike.
I mean,
meta
how
films,
many
but it's
like cameos are in this film?
This is what I was going to say. He's kind of gotten to a point where he's just shoving in cameos for the sake of it, or just getting his friends in for the sake of it.
Felt like a montage of cameos to me.
Yeah.
Also,
and they're always people you don't really know. They're like, it's not like, oh, I know that person.
And I know you were saying that like his daughter's acting shit, blah blah blah, but I don't think it's that. I mean, look at some of the acting in his other films. It's not that. Do you know what I mean? That's ruined the film. It's ruined the film.
Yeah. Well, to be fair to her, I mean, she got into the last Tarantino film, didn't she? She was in.
She was one of the Manson girls, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think she's a bad actress.
No, I don't.
Yeah, it's
no, I take that.
Just the material she's got to work with.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Well, you think then, being a dad, give her better material because he's capable of it. He's written some really good stuff, and I don't know if weed has affected him, and I know I don't know if that's a cop out to say.
Yeah, but I think you might be right.
I think it is just he doesn't give a fuck what anybody else thinks anymore.
Which is a great place to be, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. So, but it's then you get yoga hoses, but at least that's his. No one else is going to make yoga hoses.
Do you think he needs Scott Mosier?
I do miss Mosier. There was when I used to listen to Smodcast, there was a long stretch where Mosier wasn't on it, and I don't know if he's back on it now.
He is, I think.
But yeah, I think Mosier is a mediating presence.
He's on that show. He was like what I listened to it for. I mean, I bailed on it again like you did. I kind of got a bit. Once they started to go into the Canada jokes like non-stop. I kind of had just tuned out. I got so bored of it.
Well, it was just the just saturation for me. Like he was releasing like 4 podcasts a day, so it got to the point where literally I'm either sleeping, working, or listening to a Kevin Smith podcast. And I was like, right, I've got to cut one of these out.
Sounds like me at the moment.
Yeah, I can't get rid of working, and I do enjoy sleeping, so it looks like the podcast is going to have to go. I think the last one I listened to was the Tusk episode, so it's been a while.
Oh, the actual one where they came up with the idea.
When they came up with the idea.
Did I tell you? Well, no, I'll get to that when we talk about Tusk. But what was I going to say? So just 2 other things I just want to mention before we crack on. So you got the Clerks cartoon series that I think James may have mentioned before. which is actually really good, and it's kind of like, I don't know if it came out before Family Guy, but it's kind of got that vibe, but I think it's better than that.
It came out around the same time because there's some digs to it on the commentary, and in the last episode they show the writer's room for Clerks, and somebody's reading a copy of How to Write Cartoons by Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah. It's really well done, I think, and the animation style's really good. You've got who is it you said plays Leonardo? It's
Alec Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin, yes.
Yeah.
Before he did like 30 Rock and stuff like that. And, yeah, it's really good.
And Gilbert Gottfried playing Patrick Swayze as well.
That's true.
Nice.
They keep like the second episode of the show is the montage clip episode before they've even done any episodes. It's like that kind of humour, but it's good. They kept threatening back in the day to make a film based on it, didn't they? Clerks Sellouts or something like that.
Yeah, they did. But they posted some test animation on the website, but it never got further than that.
They did a lightsaber fight, didn't they? Like Empire Strikes Back.
I don't know if it was actual fight or if it was just Jay making like dick jokes with its lightsaber. I remember that being part of it.
But he's teased that it might be coming back, or he wants to work on it again.
But, yeah, they're talking about doing the third one as an animated one. Like, he wrote the script for Clerks 3, and then Jeff Anderson didn't want to do it again, and now I think Jeff Anderson's on board. But now I've heard, they're doing it as an animation. But I kind of stopped following Kevin Smith, all of his shenanigans, because A, he just announces shit that never gets made anyway, and B, like listening to all the podcasts, you already know everything about the film by the time it comes out. So I just cut it all off now, and I must just go into it cold without knowing what to expect.
Talking about
Red State, I think everyone knew about Red State before the film even came out, because he did a whole podcast about it. We're going to say, Tom.
I was just going to say, he's doing a Masters of the Universe cartoon, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. Which I wouldn't have put him with
Which
that,
I just think it's nuts, but I'm really interested, because I don't think any of the animation has been shown yet, but I'd be interested to see what style it is.
Yeah, I think there's some interesting people involved with it. I'm not really a
I think it's the
Masters
same
of the Universe
company.
guy. But...
Sorry, James. What are you going to say?
Sorry. I just say I'm not really a Masters of the Universe guy, although I did buy the soundtrack to the Dolph Lundgren film the other day.
Brilliant film.
There are some interesting people in it. I might end up giving it a watch because the talent involved.
It's a silly, fun film, that is. Do you know what I mean? It's like, just reminds me of
I really loved it as a kid.
Same.
Being 5 years old.
Yeah. And I haven't seen it in like 30 years.
Going back to the Clerks cartoon, though, do you remember the toys that came from it?
Is that a
shit
demon?
They were called, that's the shit demon. So they did like from all the movies. I've got them all somewhere, but I just couldn't be bothered to get them out. But they're called in action figures, so they didn't move. But they were really good renditions of the animated stuff. And then going back to the comic book, so they did a Bluntman and Chronic comic book, which they actually made into a cartoon, which was using this guy did like Smodcast cartoons, like based on episodes of Smodcast.
Yeah.
And then he directed a film of this. I
didn't realize it was based on the comic.
Yeah, it's pretty much that. It's called Jane and Silent Bob's Super Groovy Cartoon Movie, and it's fucking shit.
Oh, I've watched it. Yeah, it's terrible.
It's bad.
Yeah.
So it's based on that.
It's on Prime. I was going to buy the DVD, but then I remembered you saying how shit it was, and I got talked out of it. But I probably will buy it for complete's sake at some point.
Yeah.
You've got the Clerks comic book, which is made up of like 3 or 4 issues. And one of them has Dante going to an insane asylum where Caitlin is now at after having sex with a dead guy. And it's a Christmas issue, and he fingers her with a candy cane. And then it snaps her out of her psychosis. And then it's also got an issue in it where it's the lost scene from Clerks, where it's they drop keys down the coffin of the girl that died in the swimming pool, the YMCA swimming pool.
Right, okay.
Julie Dwyer or something like that, which they also made into an animated sequence that's in the Clerks.
It's on the 10th anniversary,
which is in the same
DVD
style
and
as
the
cartoon.
Blu-ray. Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I have to say.
I've got that Clerks comic book, and I was going to dig out my Mallrats book as well.
You got the Mallrats book?
Yeah. The guy who used to run the message board, I can't remember why, but he sent me a package, and it had the Mallrats book in there and a couple of other bits and pieces. but yeah, it's first edition. Well, I think they only did one printing of it, but it's this nice glossy script book with all behind the scenes stuff in it. But it's buried under a big pile of CDs and filmmaking equipment, and I couldn't be asked getting it out. Because last time I moved that box, I threw my back out for like 6 months. So you just have to take my word for it.
Right, okay. So we're running at 2 hours now, so this is quite a meaty episode.
Yeah.
So come back next week, so we're going to discuss Kevin Smith's other films that are the non-View Askew ones. And I'm also going to tell you a very fun story about my colonoscopy. So get ready for
that.
Nice.
So I've been Ollie.
I'll bring a rain jacket.
I've been Ollie.
I've
You've been
completely bamboozled. No, I've been Tom.
There you go. And you've been...
I've been James.
There we go. So yeah, find us on Instagram, Facebook. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. I don't know. We might be in your back garden. I don't know.
Look
we'll
through
see you
that
later.
window.
Bye.
Bye.
Catch you on the flip flop.